Let's talk about some weird stuff going on. Valve pushed a pretty significant Dota 2 update alongside the announcement that they would no longer be supporting versions of Source 2 on older graphics APIs such as DirectX 9 and OpenGL. This move is not incredibly surprising, as Vulkan, the API that they have been favoring and actually adding into things like Portal 2, will be running quite well on SteamOS, a Linux-based operating system. We've discussed in the past that when Valve pushes a large update, it usually comes with a few Datamine leaks. Smaller patches are easier to clean. When you're pushing large amounts of data, that's a bit more difficult to make sure that you've scrubbed everything of interest out of those files before pushing it out to the public, especially considering that it would take a lot of effort to get that stuff out anyways. With the latest Dota 2 update, we actually have some updates on development for 2 games currently in development at Valve Software right now, as well as confirmation that yes, Valve is actually working on 2, maybe 3 game consoles. Citadel is Valve's main software focus right now. It has the largest team on it. It has the most information available out there. I recommend watching my longer video I published back in January about exactly what this project is. However, there was a large break in production, or at least publicly known production, thanks to the fact that COVID and work from home has definitely affected how Valve operates. The pushing of larger content updates has become significantly less frequent, and the organization that is required for a company to be able to operate in a work from home environment, or a predominantly work from home environment, is literally the antithesis of everything Valve used to stand for. But at the end of the day, it is just a positive for Valve's production and productivity, giving us more content. In relation to what we actually got here, Valve is working on a fully featured water physics engine for Source 2. Half-Life Alyx shipped with a lot of new features in Valve's own proprietary game engines, and water was not one of them. This is a updated system from what we saw in Half-Life 2 back in 2004, with this update specifically listing things like drowning, damage ticks for drowning, buoyancy of different items, fluid density, etc. etc. One of them being Citadel, and from that we actually have 2 new game classes, actual character classes that you would be playing in the game. One called the Agent and one called the Instigator. The Agent has a work goal, and the Instigator has, as the game calls it, a lurk position. Add this stuff in with the information that we had back in January, and you are looking at a asymmetric top-down first-person game where players are both competing and cooperating to complete objectives in a Half-Life universe. The other game is HLX. HLX had a video earlier this year, however it came with some arguing in the community over what exactly the prefix HLX is supposed to be about. Back in 2006, during the initial developments of Episode 1 and Episode 2, Valve took the Half-Life 2 branch and renamed it to HLX to effectively denote systems that are agnostic to any of the episodic content. HLX in this case is not the Half-Life 2 base. HLX is instead the HLVR base for future HLVR developed content, another HLVR styled game. The prefix HLX is not representative of a game's codename, but instead it is a prefix that represents an agnostic engine, taking all of the features and systems that were developed for Half-Life Alyx, iterating on them, and utilizing them in future in-development titles. This effectively means more Half-Life Alyx-esque content is in development. However, whether it's in the Half-Life universe, starring Alex Vance, or literally anything else on a story or thematic perspective is unknown. However, Valve is developing at least 2 games at the current time, with new development information being seen in the latest Dota 2 update, Citadel and HLX. Obviously, we know about the Steam Deck. I might make a video to compliment my lead graphic designer's John's amazing thumbnail for a possible Steam Deck report. However, everybody knows about the Steam Deck. Everybody wants the Steam Deck, and it is obviously going to be a hit. Valve has been developing hardware for years and attempting to figure out exactly what the general populace wants in order to be able to take a market share away from Windows. Valve doesn't like Windows. Valve actually has been developing multiple SteamOS-based units. There is the heavily rumored and possibly confirmed through recent reporting standalone VR headsets, but also found in this latest update is the denotation of something called the Steam console. This isn't related to the old Steambox projects that took place in 2014 and 2015. This is its own original piece of hardware that Valve is developing in-house. Upon the publication of Jeff Keighley's The Final Hours of Half-Life Alyx, there was a tour, walkthrough, Google Street View-esque piece of software that allowed users to explore the floor of Valve's offices where Half-Life Alyx was predominantly developed. In these images, pictures of this specific console box were seen a few times. This is, at least at the time these pictures were taken, which was either late 2019 or early 2020, Valve's own proprietary television box console. Steam Machine 2.0, Steambox 2.0, it's just called the Steam console in Valve's own files, seen in the latest Dota 2 update. This is more likely to be seen before a standalone VR headset. And I also want to point out that when reading publicly stated information related to Valve, one person saying something to be the case does not necessarily mean it represents the ideologies or wants of the employees as a whole. Valve is not organized enough to be able to have things like this. If there are individuals that seem to be in the spotlight whenever any project has a public PR push, it should be taken with a little bit of suspicion. Isn't it weird that sometimes we see the same few faces pop up in every single new product Valve launches, whether it be software or hardware? Obviously, we see different people that actually worked on those projects, but we also seem to see like a handful of people pop up in all of them. If those types of people are stating things to be true, take it with a grain of salt. Valve is developing the Index 2, but they are years away from releasing something like that. If they are truly developing a standalone VR unit, that is so difficult, especially in the times where it's impossible to source any parts to begin with. And attempting to keep up with what will eventually become the Quest 3 and Quest Pro is a rat race that they are not capable of running right now. Yes, we are going to see the Index 2. It's possibly half standalone, half wireless to PC, and it'll be cool. It'll probably run on SteamOS, it'll probably run Half-Life Alyx, but we're years away from that. In the meantime, we have the handheld, we have the console, we have Citadel, and we have more Half-Life Alyx-esque content on the way. Valve is busy, Valve has momentum, and Valve unfortunately can be a toxic work environment for many of the individuals there, thus many people have left in the last 6 months, but they're still plugging away, and there are still good people there. So I wish them the best of luck, and I hope the problematic individuals that may be holding back some of these projects may retire soon. Anyways, I'm Tyler McVicker. Thank you very much for listening. We are currently selling these dev textured socks. They're limited time. Check them out on my CrowdMade store. If you want to keep up with everything I'm doing, check me out on Twitter and Discord. Links to those down in the description below. I try and answer all emails, and I hope y'all have a great day. Please get vaccinated. I've had 2 deaths in the family from COVID-related sicknesses. Please get vaccinated, and I'll see you later. Adios.